So to introduce myself, hi, my name is Miss Sniezek. I teach 10th grade English here at Parkland High School. This is actually my 4th year at Parkland, but my 7th year teaching overall. And when I'm lucky, I also get to teach a section of theater once in a while. But beyond Parkland High School, I also direct the fall play and the spring musical at Orfield Middle School. What do I want my students to take away from my class? Well, every year on the first day of school, I always address my students and I let them know that my goal as an English teacher is not just to make them better readers, though of course that's always the goal as an English teacher, but my personal goal is to help them to be better communicators. English is more than just reading literature and learning about fictional characters and writing about argumentative essays and things of that nature, but English class is about a lot of life lessons, and so in a lot of ways with our fictional characters that we analyze throughout the year, it helps us to kind of put ourselves in their shoes, learn a little bit more about empathy and learning about, well, what would I do in that situation, and just kind of taking some of those life lessons. But beyond that, when we're becoming better educators, or I'm sorry, not educators, being better communicators, a big part of that is that when you're a teenager, it's really hard to feel seen and to feel understood, and so by helping to teach kids how to approach conflict, how to understand proper ways to be able to explain your feelings and explain your ideas in a functional and healthy way, it really helps to benefit their relationships in their world outside of school. So that's always my goal, is to help them to be able to communicate and advocate for themselves. What do I think my teaching style is like? Well, I'm a very bubbly, outgoing person. I definitely hear from my students a lot that I'm always smiling and that sometimes it's a little unnerving. But at the same time, though, I also know that I love what I do. I love teaching. It makes me so happy, and it's never the same every day. You can never expect the same thing, which is what makes it really fun for me. And for students, I try my hardest to keep them on their toes as well. I try not to do the same thing every time when it comes to teaching. I try to include a lot of different formats and a lot of opportunities for them to engage with each other, especially because we're so in this screen-oriented world. Trying to force you guys to just talk to each other is usually a goal, and kind of part of that being a better communicator. So I try to instill a lot of opportunities for that, as well as to be creative and just overall just like creating a safe space. English is hard. English is not everyone's favorite subject, and it can be really intimidating, especially when it comes to essays, which my class is literally just finished and I'm currently grading now. And so it's really hard to ask questions sometimes, so I want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable to be able to ask those questions, and just know that no matter what happens out of it, you're going to be smarter after you ask the question, no matter what happens. Why do I teach? That is a really difficult question, and when I was kind of preparing for this, I had to think a little bit deeper about it. But I'm a big theater nerd. If you know me at all, you know this about me. And when I was in high school, I'm actually a Parkland alum, and when I was in school, theater was like my place. But I also knew that I wanted to use some of the skills that I learned in theater and be able to apply it in the real world, just to be realistic, but at the same time, I really wanted to do something meaningful. I wanted to use those skills to do something that would genuinely just make me happy, but also to put out something good into the world. And a big inspiration for that was two of my teachers that I will credit because I just love them dearly and I just think so highly of them. My 11th grade English teacher, Lori Peters, you're an angel. Thank you for everything you do. As well as, she's retired now, but my theater teacher, Elizabeth Smith. And those two women have just really shaped my view of what it means. Just be yourself and embrace all of the little quirks about you, and instead of trying to soften those things, but really just embracing them and being the sunshine that you are without being worried about people judging you or thinking less of you. And I really could not be the person that I am or the teacher that I am had it not been for them. And they really, really inspired me to, you can be a professional and be yourself and be a goofball all at the same time, which I didn't think that you could do. So it's really nice to know that I have that opportunity, and I wouldn't have seen that in myself without them. So I hope to pull that from other kiddos. I do have pets. I have two cats who I adore. They are my children. I love my cats so much. So my first cat that I have right now, his name is Fox, Fawkes, because I'm a big nerd, and I named him after the Harry Potter Phoenix because he is very fluffy and beautiful, and I wanted him to have a very regal name. And most recently, in December, I just got another kitten who I've been pushing my partner for a long time, and her name's Gizmo, and she's so cute, and she's still just a baby, but they get along really well, and they are for sure my life. I love them to pieces. One of my hidden talents, I am an adventurer. I love to be outside when I can. I do also love video games. I'm a huge video game person. That's pretty much what I do like every single night when I go home after school, is hang out with my cats and play video games or watch TV. But as far as adventuring goes, something that is a hidden talent of mine is that I love downhill mountain biking. I'm a skier. My partner had gotten me into those things when we were in high school, so it's something that I'm really grateful that I get to do because of all of these places that I wouldn't get to see without doing those hobbies. And it also just makes me feel really cool. Like, it's crazy. It's really fun. What I love the most about teaching, and some of the most memorable things to me, it kind of goes into two veins. The goofy things, which are the day-to-day, absolutely absurd things that teenagers say that just feel so out of pocket and just come out of nowhere. But those are also the most memorable and most fun moments where you really get to engage with your students and really build a relationship with them. If they feel confident and comfortable in the room to be able to joke around with you, then you know that you've established that relationship and that they feel comfortable with you, which is one of the things that I'm the most grateful for. But on the other vein of what makes teaching just like so much fun for me is being able to see kids come back to me years later and tell me, like, there's this thing that you said that has stuck with me forever. There's something I say all the time to my kids, and it's you can do hard things, because a lot of the time we kind of get ourselves stuck in our own way. And I've had multiple students who have come to me years later who have said, like, this that has become like my mantra. This is that I can do hard things, that even if it's scary, I can do it and it'll be okay. And just knowing that there are certain things, sometimes things that you say that you don't really think about, that is just advice or whatever they're asking of you or however you're incorporating it into your lesson, that really, really sticks with kids. You never know what piece of advice they're going to remember. And hearing how it really impacts their lives is just so rewarding and my favorite part about teaching. I was ready, on hand. I am a Hufflepuff. No more questions. Yeah, so I had to also list this one because, again, I don't really have a lot of one-off books that really mean a lot to me, but obviously Harry Potter has a very strong impact on me because it was really the first book series I'd ever read of my whole life. And that's thanks to my mom. I'll get into that in a little bit. But Harry Potter has always resonated with me. It was something that was like the first book series that I really became enamored with and that I just would read. It's like a comfort series for me. I'm very much an audiobook listener, which, for the record, for everyone out there, audiobook listening is reading. I don't care what anyone says, it is reading. I'm a reading specialist. Anyway, Harry Potter really sticks with me, but I also have a couple other series that I do read, I've read more than once, and that's also Hunger Games, you know, timely, because we have the new Hunger Games book that just came out. Haven't read it yet, bought it, have not read it yet. But when I read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I was like, I need to reread the whole series again, because now I'm just like not done with this content, because she is just, Suzanne Collins is just spectacular at what she does, as well as far as like the social commentary, and like reading that as a teenager versus as an adult, it still holds up. I don't care what anyone says, it still holds up. So that's one. Another one I like to suggest is The Diviners, and I promise this will be like my last one that I do. The Diviners is one that's not as popular. I heard of it from a friend at the previous school that I taught in Virginia, and it's basically like a fantasy, paranormal, historical fiction. It takes place in the 1920s. It follows this group of teenagers who all have these like paranormal fantasy powers. Like this one guy, he can turn invisible. There's a girl who, she has this ability where when she touches an object, she can almost like feel all of the memories that are attached to that object, which is really interesting. But it starts out as like this ghost murder mystery, but then it expands beyond that, and it's also a really cool social commentary taking place in the 1920s, focusing on this idea of like eugenics and like how people are trying to change themselves to fit this like specific mold, and government conspiracies and like all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's really awesome. It's such a cool, imaginative series. Highly recommend that. The Diviners by Libba Bray. Highly recommend Libba Bray in general. Also a really great young adult writer. But I have plenty other ones, but as far as, I'll stick with those since all of those have more than the amount of books that you asked me about, so. I love fantasy, as I'm sure you have figured out based on all of my answers about the books that I like to read. But I also really love dystopian novels. I do think that like, again, the societal commentary is always really interesting. It just makes me think a little bit deeper about my own life and my experiences now that I'm an adult. So I really like books in that field, as well as historical fiction. Those are probably like my top 3 that I read the most often. My mother, so when I was a youngin', she read to me all the time. I had the Lorax memorized before I could actually read, because she read it to me so often, because it was just, that was my favorite childhood book. And I remember going into kindergarten and doing our show and tell, and I brought the Lorax, and I couldn't even read yet, but I just was telling everyone the story because I knew what was going on in it. But she got me really into reading, well, and she also had introduced me to Harry Potter. She introduced me to audiobooks, and we would listen to them in the car whenever we go on road trips and things like that. So she was the one who really got me into reading, as well as my grandmother, her mom, who was a kindergarten teacher for like her whole life. So, but between the two of them, they both really instilled a love of reading for me. So of course, I used to say Harry Potter. I've mentioned that 1,000,001 times, but at this point, Throne of Glass has taken that role for me. It has just really resonated with me, because one of the themes that are brought up throughout the entire series is just this idea of how one act of kindness has this massive ripple effect. And it's compared to pulling a thread on a tapestry. How you pull on this thread, you feel this moment where you have this connection to someone, where you have this choice. Do I pull on this thread? Do I do this act of kindness and I follow that instinct? How far does that tug go? And you really never know. And you never know how that one small act of kindness is going to cycle its way back to you, or how far that one act of kindness is really going to push that person. And as a teacher, that is something, and I find kindness to be, that's one of the things I say to my students every single day. Every day when they're leaving the room, I say, be safe, make good choices, and be kind, because you really never know what someone is going through. Teenagers are going through some really harsh situations that people don't know about behind closed doors. And even just a smile, or I'm proud of you, or just some kind of small positive compliment or kindness really can go such a long way for someone. And even if it's just a small thing, if that really helps someone, then that's what I want to do. And Throne of Glass, while it is a big fantasy thing, that is a huge theme that is revisited over and over and over again. And something that has really stuck with me is pull the thread. Anytime you have the opportunity, pull the thread. It costs you nothing.